7 years after the Teutoburg disaster, Rome is back in Germania with unfinished business and a very long memory. This is the Battle of Idistaviso, fought in 16 CE, a clash between Roman discipline and Germanic fury, between Germanicus and Arminius, and between two very different ideas of what power looks like. One side wants revenge, the other side wants Rome gone, permanently. Quick flashback. In 9 CE, Publius Quinctilius Varus marched 3 Roman legions into the woods and into one of the worst military disasters in Roman history. Arminius, a Cheruscan noble who had served with Rome and knew exactly how Roman command worked, orchestrated the ambush. Legions were wiped out, standards were lost, pride was shredded. To Rome, Teutoburg wasn't just a defeat, it was an insult engraved in iron. Emperors can survive lost battles. What they cannot tolerate is looking weak on the frontier. So when Germanicus took command of the Rhine armies, he inherited more than troops. He inherited a national grudge, a political mission, and a burning need to prove Rome still had teeth. Germanicus was charismatic, popular, and dangerously good at his job. Soldiers loved him, elites watched him, enemies feared him. From 14 to 16 CE, he launched repeated expeditions across the Rhine, striking tribes, recovering at least some of Rome's lost symbols, and forcing Arminius and his allies into repeated confrontations. Every campaign sent the same message: Rome remembers and Rome invoices with interest. Arminius, meanwhile, was no one-battle wonder. He understood Roman discipline because he had once worn it. He understood tribal politics because he had to survive it. He knew how to rally coalitions when they wanted vengeance, and how to keep them together when fear and fatigue tried to pull them apart. If Germanicus was Rome's answer, Arminius was still Germania's hardest question. By 16 CE, both men were hunting something bigger than a tactical win. Germanicus wanted a decisive victory in open ground, where Roman formations could breathe and kill efficiently. Arminius wanted to disrupt, fracture, and exploit the landscape, because Germania was never just a place on a map. It was terrain weaponized against invaders who preferred straight lines and reliable roads. As the armies moved toward contact, tension climbed fast. Scouts reported movement, rumors spread in camp. Deserters and prisoners fed each side fragments of truth wrapped in panic. Night before battle is always theater. Campfires, whispered predictions, old veterans pretending they can sleep, younger soldiers trying not to look terrified. By dawn, everyone knows history is about to ask for blood. Tacitus places the battlefield at Idistaviso, on a plain near the Weser River, bounded by hills and backed by forest. It is a dangerous compromise of terrain, open enough for Roman order, broken enough for sudden chaos, exactly the kind of place where one misread maneuver can turn confidence into catastrophe before anyone has time to shout a correction. Before steel meets flesh, speeches do their usual job. Germanicus reminds his men of Teutoburg, of Roman honor, of discipline over rage. Arminius reminds his warriors of freedom, of homeland, of foreign arrogance. Both commanders promise victory. Both armies roar like victory is already decided. And both sides know that in battle, promises are cheap and outcomes are not. Roman deployment is methodical. Auxiliaries forward, missile troops positioned to disrupt, legionary corps arranged for sustained pressure, cavalry prepared to exploit weakness, reserves ready to plug gaps or widen breakthroughs. This is not improvisation. This is a machine being assembled piece by piece, each unit designed to support the next. The Roman art of war is structure under stress. The Germanic coalition counters with aggression and momentum, leaning on shock, local knowledge, and the psychological edge of fighting for home soil. Early movements suggest a push from higher ground, trying to break Roman rhythm before that rhythm can lock in. If Rome is a hammer, the tribes try to become water, surging, shifting, and refusing to be pinned cleanly. As the lines collide, noise becomes physical. Javelins vanish into dust. Shields slam like doors in a storm. Roman cavalry drives into vulnerable angles, while infantry holds pressure at the center. Once formation integrity starts to bend, everything accelerates. Retreat routes choke, signals get missed. Small local failures become giant strategic disasters in minutes, not hours. At one point, Arminius reportedly fights in the thick of it, driving hard to force a break, nearly tearing into Roman missile lines before fresh Roman units stabilize the front. He survives, and later tradition says he escaped recognition by smearing his face with blood. Whether you call that desperation or brilliance, it kept the rebellion's most important leader alive. As cohesion collapses in parts of the Germanic line, the battle turns from contest to slaughter. Men are cut down on riverbanks, crushed in bottlenecks, and hunted through broken ground. Some flee toward forest cover, others are trapped in open spaces where Roman pursuit is merciless. Once panic outruns command, survival becomes individual, and individual survival rates are terrible. Roman troops celebrate by erecting a trophy of captured arms and naming defeated tribes, an unmistakable statement of dominance and a masterclass in humiliating your enemy in public. Militarily, it signals total confidence. Politically, it's provocative. Symbolic victories are powerful, but symbols cut both ways. To the survivors across Germania, this is not closure, it is a challenge. The immediate aftermath proves the point. Rage hardens resistance. Fighting continues, including another brutal clash at the Angevarian Wall, where constricted terrain and defensive works create close, ugly combat. Again, Rome adapts. Missile support, formation discipline, relentless pressure. Again, Rome wins tactically. Again, the deeper strategic issue remains. Winning battles is easier than permanently pacifying this frontier. And this is where Idistaviso gets interesting. On paper, Germanicus has done what Rome asked. He has struck hard, restored prestige, and demonstrated that Teutoburg was not the end of Roman military credibility. But strategy is not a scoreboard of single afternoons. Arminius survives. Germanic resistance survives. The frontier remains expensive, violent, and stubbornly unconvinced by Roman speeches. In 17 CE, Germanicus is recalled and granted a triumph in Rome. Publicly, it's glory. Quietly, it reflects a bigger imperial calculation. Endless, deep campaigns east of the Rhine might deliver fame, but they also deliver endless logistics, endless risk, and endless political uncertainty. Empires don't just choose where to fight, they choose where fighting stops paying. So, was Idistaviso decisive? Tactically, yes. Rome won hard and proved it could dominate an open battle. Strategically, only partly. The campaign avenged humiliation and restored confidence, but it did not convert Germania into a stable Roman province. It was a victory with limits, and history is full of those. Brilliant days that don't quite become permanent solutions. That's the legacy of Idistaviso. Germanicus gets triumph. Arminius keeps the struggle alive. Rome regains pride but not total control. The battlefield is won, the frontier remains contested, and the forests of Germania keep refusing neat endings. If Teutoburg shattered Roman certainty, Idistaviso rebuilt it, stronger, sharper, and still very aware that some borders are easier to punish than own.